This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you, to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. Well, all right. Well, praise God and welcome, my friends, once again to Voiceover In and Out, and we are excited to continue on here today. We talked, if you recall, in the prior session. Session number 5. Session number 6. Wow, hard to believe how fast that goes. But yeah, and we talked in the prior session about the proper ways to set up a contact card. And we also talked about our first type of app, really, in session 5, the tabbed app. That is an app with a tab bar. If you'll recall, there are tabs across the bottom of the screen in a tabbed app, and we used the clock app as an example of that. We went in and we saw world clock, alarms, timers, stopwatch. I think in the reverse order, I think it was stopwatch and then timers. And each of those tabs, if you double tap on them, will affect what's on the rest of the screen. So if you double tap on the alarms tab, of course, the rest of the screen has all your alarms and the ability to add another alarm. And if you tap on timers, why the rest of the screen has your timer options, and you can set multiple timers and even name your timers. You know, we use that a lot when we're cooking multiple things at once. You know, you have a timer for the casserole and a timer for the dessert and whatever else, you know, or maybe it's unrelated, it's laundry or what have you. So this is the way the tabbed app works, and we're going to get to another tabbed app today, which is the phone app. Now, you know, it's interesting to say, with everything that the iPhone is, right? It's a web browser, it's a computer, it does all these things. You can order food, you can watch TV, read books. It's still a phone. Imagine that. It's also a phone. I'd like to do a survey someday to see how many times people use the phone app compared to other apps, because I bet it's less. But we still need to know how to do it. So, let me get my original audio. Now, I will say this.
Select mic done button. Speech off.
I will say this. There are 2 different views for the phone app now, if you have iOS 26. But both are tabbed. Both still use a tab bar. I will be using the new unified view. And I want to talk to you a little about that before we go any further, because I'm sure some of our longtime users are curious. The phone app has been virtually unchanged. There might be subtle differences here and there. But it's been virtually unchanged since the original iPhone. It has had the same 5 tabs across the bottom: favorites, recents, contacts, keypad, and voicemail. Same tabs, same basic functionality. There have been certain enhancements, certain new features. We got the silence unknown callers, we got live voicemail transcripts, we got call recording, you know, different subtle little things like that. But essentially, it's been the same. That is until iOS 26. Apple is introducing a new unified view. And essentially, what the unified view does is it combines favorites, recent calls, and voicemails into one tab with a lot of screen real estate to display all that content in a beautiful interface. And then you can filter by what you're looking for. If you only want to see voicemails, or if you only want to see missed calls, or any of these types of things. There are people who prefer the old classic view. It's called classic now. There are people who like the unified view. There are people who won't try the unified view because they're maybe nervous about it, or they just don't want to change. I tend to lean towards doing whatever new thing Apple is offering, because it is my opinion that Apple usually gets it right, and they usually have some good reason for doing what they do. Not everybody agrees with me, and that's okay. There's no condemnation. We love you anyway, right? It's not a big deal. But we always say we teach to the latest and the greatest. And so I'm going to use unified view. If that's not what you have, you can try it if you'd like, or you can stick to the other one. The tab bar is still a tab bar, even in unified view. It's just going to be different tabs. And I will say there's always been, I don't know, it's just been the tendency. There's one or two exceptions. I don't use mail categories. I've turned them off, for those who know what that is. Not because I think it's a bad feature, but because I don't always agree with the categorization. And instead of manually having to recategorize stuff, I just do it in other ways. I use the smart mailboxes and different things we're going to learn about later on in this course. But I can certainly see, people for whom the mail categories make sense. That's just an example of one of the few times that I don't use something new that Apple has implemented, but normally I do. So this unified view is what I'll be teaching. If you want classic view, by all means, you can use it. I'm going to show you where to switch back and forth. And you may, the first time you open the phone app, be prompted with which view do you want to use, right? You can choose. Try unified or stay with classic, whatever. But again, it's personal preference. There's no right or wrong. Apple has made both available. All right. The point I really want to get across is that we have tabs. So your tabs, if you have classic view, again, are favorites, recents, contacts, keypad, and voicemail. My tabs in unified view are going to be different. It's going to be calls, because that's the unified tab that combines favorites, recents, and voicemail. So it's called calls. And then I have contacts, keypad, and search. I'm going to show it to you now, focusing on the idea that this is another tabbed app. Remember, predictable patterns. That's the main reason why we're doing this. I don't have to teach you every feature step by step, nor do I think that I could in the time frame of what we have in this class. I am a work in progress. I don't know it all. And even in the cases where I am really comfortable with the app, there's almost always too much to fit into a single session. So we can't do that. But I can show you how to get around and how to know what you're looking at based on these fundamentals and these predictable patterns. And of course, we'll sprinkle in some new some features and functionality as well, so you get a complete picture. So let me go to the phone app.
Matthew, Facebook, image, dock, phone, 63 new items.
And you've heard
Double tap to open.
a badge. There's a lot of items there. Some of these are voicemails from a long time ago and different things. But if I open this app,
phone, edit, button.
The very first thing I'm going to do is touch the bottom left, because that's where the tab bar is on the bottom. Remember, across the bottom of the screen, I'm going to swipe from left to right to show you the tabs. Again, I'm in unified view.
Tab bar, selected, calls, tab, 1 of 4.
To the right.
Contacts, tab, 2 of 4. Keypad, tab, 3 of 4. Search, tab, 4 of 4. Search,
So,
tab,
and you heard that. So you have those 4 tabs, and I believe...
Selected, calls,
Yep,
tab.
calls is already selected. So just again to really drive home the point of the tab bar, if I choose one of these other options, like let's say I choose keypad.
Keypad, tab, 3 of 4.
And I double tap.
Selected, keypad, tab, 3 of 4.
What I now have is a traditional telephone keypad. Upper left is the 1.
1.
And if it go to the swipe to the left of that,
Tap P, pop-up button.
It's letting me...
Phone number, text field.
There's the edit field.
Double tap to edit.
Where my phone number will be when I start typing. I also have a pop-up button that I can choose primary or business, because I have 2 SIMs or two phone lines on my iPhone. But notice now this is the keypad.
1, 2, 3. DEF.
And if your number has letters on it, like the 3 has DEF, it'll read those too. So I can just start typing a phone number in here, say I want to call 800.
8.
And then the zeros
0.
below it.
0.
And I can keep typing whatever I want. You look at the edit field, it's got that in it.
Cap P. 18 more results. Button.
And the other thing you'll notice.
Apple Care. Phone number. 800. Text field.
There's the edit field. But you'll notice that when you start typing phone numbers, it's going to bring up relevant search results. And you can even use the letters on the keypad. So if I want to spell somebody's name, it should do that as well. So down at the bottom let's go to the pound sign.
Delete.
And
pound.
Just
call button.
To the right, and really that's down below it in the center, but I swipe to the right of the pound sign and it says call.
Delete.
And there's delete. So we can delete that 800.
008.
Now let's suppose I want to call Sarah, and I type it by spelling her name 7 it'd be 7272, right? So I'm using the letters on the keypad.
Star.
Okay.
7272.
Look up here.
Sarah. Phone
and there it is.
One more result.
And there's
button.
one more result. I can double tap. So this is what's known traditionally as T9 dialing. I don't recommend it on a normal basis, and I don't use it ever because I use my contacts tab and my calls tab and so forth. But I just wanted to show you that that is available since we were talking about the keypad. Down at the bottom middle, just above the tab bar, is your call button.
Call button.
There it is.
Call button.
To the right is delete.
Delete. 2727.
All right, we've deleted everything. Now, you also, when the edit field is empty, can double tap on the call button and it'll bring up the most recently called phone number, and then you can double tap on call again, and it'll place the call. So those are some little tidbits and tricks that we may not normally teach, but I thought I'd mention those there, praise God. And I point out that this is all still within the keypad tab. Now I'm going to go to the contacts tab, which is tab number 3 if you are using classic view. It's tab number 2 if you're using unified view. And this is where you might spend a good bit of your time.
Tab bar, contacts, tab.
What you'll notice about the contacts tab is that it is an exact duplication of the contacts app we worked in the other day. It's exactly the same. You look up at the left.
Back button.
You have your lists.
iCloud. Heading.
I'm in iCloud. I have
Add button.
an add button to add new contacts.
Section index.
I have the section index.
Apple.
I have all my contacts there, so I can find anything. Down at the bottom, the far right, is a search tab in Unified View, and I can search for my contacts, by name, but I can also pick one. Let's say that I want to call somebody here. Oh, who do I want to call? I'm not really going to place the call, but let's just go with the section index.
Apple Developers App Section Index, adjustable.
Remember, it's along the right-hand side.
Space.
And I'm swiping
Emily Gale
rather
rapidly.
rapidly.
Cap N. Select cap O. Selected.
Who can I demonstrate for you? Well, let's go.
Cap R. Selected.
All right, here, let's
Cap U. Cap V.
go to
Select.
one of my family members. My wife, my kids, my parents. I'll just pick somebody random here.
Carson Wade Valbrecht.
Okay.
Emergency contact.
There's my son. So I'll double tap on his name. At the upper left, of course, is a back button. We should know that predictable pattern by now.
iCloud. Back button.
And if we start swiping to the right. Now, I don't normally just start at the upper left and swipe to the right when I know the app, because the muscle memory, I just sort of know where things are. But if you aren't familiar with it, you can absolutely do that. Just start at the upper left and begin swiping to the right, which is what I'll do now.
Edit button.
There's the edit button, so I can edit Carson's contact info. Remember, this is just like the contacts app, but it's living inside the phone app. Now here,
Emergency contact.
that indicates he's an emergency contact.
Last used. Pay primary button.
I called him with the primary line. That is what I want.
Carson Wade Valbrecht. Message button. Call button. Video button. Pop-up button.
Now notice these are pop-up
Tap
buttons.
to activate the picker.
Mail, or
Message.
yeah, not mail. Message, a call,
Video.
and video.
Button.
Video is
Pop-up
FaceTime.
button.
Call is going to
Last
give me
view.
the option. Do I want to call him at home? Do I want to call his iPhone? Whatever. And if I go lower down on the screen here,
Carson Wade vault message, call, video, mail, button, contact photo and poster, home, iPhone, VIP, 8, home, SPIDER.
I can double tap on any of these
Truth Social,
to either
home.
call or email or
Note
message,
dismiss.
whatever the thing is, right?
Edit.
It's usually going to be call and it's going to be mail. And so I can double tap on home or iPhone. And then if I keep going further down, you're going to see
Home, ringtone. Forward, image, emergency bypass on. Text tone. Forward, emergency bypass on.
Remember, I told you a little about emergency bypass. I said we'd talk more about it later on in the course, and we will.
Home, 400th birthday, March 29th, Father, Matthew Grayson vault notes. Text field, send message, button, share contact.
All that same stuff we had in the contacts app, it's all here. And I think I may have missed.
Home.
Let me just go back and look at
Forward
something.
text, forward, ringtone. Home, iPhone, home, contact.
No, I
photo.
guess not. They've combined it all now. So, yeah, I can do any of these things. I can FaceTime. I can call. Any of these that I want to do. Now, let's go back at the upper left.
iCloud, back button. Carson
The other
Wade.
thing I want to remind you is you can use SIRI. So I can hold down the side button or I can invoke her with the wake word and I can say, call my son iPhone or FaceTime audio my mom or whatever phrase I need to use at the time. And if they're in your contacts, it becomes super easy. And we can also search. But now I want to show you the calls tab. This is the one that is brand new. It's the unified tab that combines favorites and recents and voicemail. So let's go back down to the bottom and tap on calls.
Tab bar, calls, tab.
Double tap.
1 of 4, selected, calls, tab.
All right. Upper left, let's begin.
Edit, button.
Right away, there's an edit button.
Edit.
And let me show you what's in that edit menu.
Matthew Volbrecht. Name and photo. Edit favorites, button. Select, button. Dismiss context menu, button.
So I'll dismiss that, but you notice it said name and photo, so I can edit that. The two that I really want to focus on because I want to make sure you know where they are. Edit favorites. That's under the edit button in the calls tab in Unified View. Edit favorites allows me to manage existing favorites. It also allows me to add new favorites. And what you do when you choose to add a favorite, it's going to prompt you to choose a contact to make a favorite. And when you choose the contact, you then have to choose whether you want to add their favorite for calling or texting purposes or what you want to do. So you pick that, and then it's even going to have you pick iPhone, home, work, whatever choices you have in there, you're going to have to pick. So it's a multi-step process to get somebody added to favorites because you're going to add a unique entry for each thing. You could add, for example, your husband or wife iPhone, but also their home, also their work. You could have 3 favorites or more for your son, daughter, husband, wife, friend, whatever they may be. And you can do all of that. So it's a multi-step process, but it all begins by tapping the edit button. And you know when I say tapping, I mean double tapping for VoiceOver. But tapping the edit button and choosing edit favorites. The other option you heard in that menu that I want to briefly talk about is select. We have not really talked about that yet in this course. But you're going to see it a lot in places where there are lists of items, lists of phone calls, in this case, recent calls, list of message conversations when we learn about the Messages app soon, list of email messages, all sorts of different lists. You're going to see a button that's often called select. What that does when you double tap on it, it puts you into a multi-select interface. What do I mean by a multi-select interface? I mean you can select multiple items in that screen. So if I have 100 recent calls in the list, I want to select all of them, or maybe I don't. Maybe I want to select number 1, number 3, number 8, number 10, number 12, number 16, number 19, whatever, and I'm selecting non-contiguous items. I can double tap each one and it selects it, and I can have multiple items selected simultaneously at the same time. So that's what multi-select does. So when you tap on the edit button and you see select in there, that's what that's going to do. It's going to put you into an interface where you can select multiple items and then take action on them, right? There'll be choices, delete, in some cases it might be copy or move or different things. In the case of this app, it's probably delete. is the most common one you're going to see there. So that's what the edit menu has in it. Now let's go beyond that.
2:33 p.m.
Again,
Edit button.
go to the right.
Calls heading.
In this unified view, the first thing I'm going to have is my favorites.
Filter button.
But before that, I have a filter button. And this is going to be an important button, but I'm going to come back to it. We're going to skip it right now. But remember that it's there. That's filter. Let's go to the right and look at my favorites.
Recents. Call Jessica button.
There's my wife. That's a favorite.
Call Carson button.
There's another favorite. My son.
Call Kylie button.
There's another favorite. My daughter.
Call Megan button.
And there's yet another favorite. One of our close friends. She's a cousin also, and she and her husband and so forth. So that's my list, excuse me, of favorites. Each one said call because that's how I have them in here. So I literally can just double tap on any of those to place a call. If I swipe up and down, there may be rotor actions too. Let's take a look.
Cap C. Chart A.
Okay, there are not.
Alpha.
There are not because these are favorites. So if I want to do it, I just double tap. It immediately places the call. All right, but let's go to the right now. You're going to see that we're now going to get into a section of recent calls.
Recents heading. +1 831
Okay, there's a phone number. And if I let it read that whole thing,
missed call, incoming P potential spam, 1:34 p.m.
it tells me
button.
what time, which
Actions
line was
available.
called, and it tells me it's potential spam. And notice that it says actions available. So if I swipe up or down, I hear
Call.
there's call,
Trash.
trash,
Remind me in 1 hour. Remind me tonight. Remind me tomorrow. Remind me later.
so you, okay, and then
Block.
block.
Activate. Default.
So all these rotor actions, that's very important because what happens is instead of double tapping on this, you can use the rotor to pick what you want. If you want to delete it, if you want a reminder to call the person back at a certain time, you saw you can do it in an hour, later today, tomorrow, or a custom one. It just said remind me later. You also heard block in that list. So I can do any of those things by using the rotor. I swiped up or down with one finger. Remember, it defaults to actions for us. And so you see that that is how easy it is to, call them back. If I want to call them, I just swipe
Call.
down. It says call, and I double tap, and it places the call. Let's go to the right.
+1 814.
There's another phone number, and let's see what that one says.
Missed call. Incoming P potential spam. 10:05 a.m. button. Kathy Volbrecht. Outgoing P FaceTime audio. Yesterday button. +1. Linda Hunt. Jessica Volbrecht. Best way. Carson. UPMC. Unread UPMC primary.
And there's an
care.
unread one. Now, what does it mean when it's unread? That means that's a voicemail. If I leave focus on that, it's going to summarize that voicemail for me.
Unread UPMC primary care. Missed call. Yesterday. P. Hi. This is Caitlin at Everett Primary Care calling from Matthews. You can give us a call. 814.
And so that was their message. It actually didn't summarize that one. It read it. Now, if you want to play that voicemail,
Call. Trash. Remind
see,
me.
you still have those options, but if I double tap on activate,
Call.
which is the default,
Activate. Default.
then I'm going to be presented with a different screen here.
Work. October 21st.
Back up at the top left,
2:30. Calls. Back button.
the back button. Go to the right. This is a voicemail.
UPMC call button.
There's a button to call them back.
Work. October 21st, 2025 at 3:56 p.m.
Go to the right.
0. Adjustable.
There's a
Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
scrubber for the playback. This shows you
12.
it was a 12-second voicemail. Go to the right.
Share button.
We can share this voicemail as audio. Go to the right.
Rewind to beginning button. Play button. Speaker switched button. Off. Delete button. Transcript.
And then here's the transcript.
Hi, this is Caitlin tab bar.
And I swipe past it. So if I want to play that, I just double tap on play. I can turn speaker on and off. I can share this. I can rewind to the beginning. All sorts of things because this is a voicemail. Now let's go back.
Calls back button.
What if I double tap on something that's not a voicemail? Let's find a call here that I just saw with my mom from yesterday.
Edit recents. Carson Wade. UPMC. Best. Jessica. Plus. Kathy Volbrecht. Outgoing P FaceTime audio. Yesterday. Button.
Now remember, double tapping it does not call it. You have to swipe down if you want to do that, or swipe up repeatedly, but
Call.
double tap. Now, if I double tap now, I just swiped down with one finger, but it said call. So if I double tap now, it is going to place the call. But what if I go back up with one finger?
Activate. Default.
To just activate. What's it going to do with a recent call?
Select calls. Back button.
There's your back button at the upper left. Predictable pattern. Let's go to the right.
Edit. Button. MOM.
It says mom.
Last used. Pay. Primary. Button.
What line I called her from.
Kathy Volbrecht.
Okay.
Message. Button. Call. Button. Video. Button. Mail. Button.
All those options.
Selected. Details. Button. Voicemails. Button. 2 of 2.
Okay. What we're seeing here is we have two choices. We have details and we have voicemails. If I choose voicemails, I can listen to any voicemail she has ever left for me, assuming I haven't deleted it. And if I choose details, which is the one that's selected right now, and I now keep swiping to the right, what we're going to see is a history of communications between the two of us.
Outgoing call. Yesterday, 8:20 p.m., 1 hour 26 minutes, 178.4 megabytes. Call history. Button. Contact photo and poster. Button. iPhone. Home. Home.
There's the info.
Other.
So now notice now,
Call history.
I can
Button.
see the rest of the call history if I double tap.
Close. Button.
It's going to show me the call history with her.
Kathy Volbrecht. Call history. Incoming call. 10/17/. Call history. Incoming call. Outgoing call. 10/17. Outgoing call. 10/17. Outgoing call. 9/16/25. Outgoing call. 9/ outgoing call.
See how that works? So all of these that are here,
Close.
it's going to show me those
Kathy
that history.
Close.
And I can
Button.
close that at the top.
Call history.
And I can
Button.
also go back at the upper left.
Calls. Back button. Edit.
So this is how your unified calls tab works. Your voicemails, your recent calls, ingoing and outgoing, they're all here. But what if I only want to see, for example, the calls that I've missed, or I only want to see my voicemails? Well, what we can do is hit the filter button. Remember, I said we'd come back to that. It's up near the very top.
Calls. Filter. Button.
And let's look at our options.
Classic. Button.
First of all, that's where you change to classic view or to unified view if you're already in classic view, is you hit the filter button. It says classic. I'm not going to choose that.
Selected. Unified. Button.
That's already selected. Let's keep going.
Selected. Calls. Button. Missed. Button. Voicemails. 63. Spam. Button. Manage filtering. Button. Dismiss context menu. Button.
So now notice, I can filter by voicemails, by missed calls, by spam, any of these types of things. And then when I choose that filter option, I'm only going to see that particular type of call. I'm only going to see the voicemails if I choose voicemails, or I'm only going to see the recents if I, the missed, whatever I choose, right? Those are the ones that I'm going to then see. And I'll also point out that the edit menu, which we looked at before, that had, name and photo, and it had select, and it had edit favorites, that will change. If I filter by voicemails, let me show you what happens here.
Spam. Voicemails. 63. Button. Recents. Edit. Button.
Now, first of all I'm going to see on my screen now are my voicemails. But I want to show you what happens to the edit menu.
Edit. Button. Matthew Volbrecht. Name and photo. Edit voicemail greeting. Button. Select. Dismiss context menu.
Notice that instead of edit favorites, it says edit voicemail greeting. So that's how you can change your voicemail greeting then if you want to. You filter by voicemails first. Now I'm going to go back and unfilter that.
Voice selected. Filter. Recents. Selected.
And choose.
Select classic. Calls. Button.
I'm just going to choose calls.
Calls.
So now that's everything
Recents.
again.
Kathy.
That's everybody again now. All right, so you can filter in whatever way that you like. And again, I've shown you how to use these to actually make calls. You can also, I've shown you how to dial. You kind of know already how to search. I've talked about using SIRI, your contacts tab. And it's that easy to place a call. Now, you might remember us introducing the magic tap, the two-finger double tap, which you can use to answer incoming calls when you receive them or to hang up if you're already on a call. But I want to talk to you a little about what happens while you are on a call. And I want to hopefully solve some problems that maybe some longtime users have had and help our new users to avoid some potential problems along the way. Your iPhone is capable of doing so many different things, as you know. And obviously one of those is to use it as a phone. There's a lot of sensors under the glass, a lot of sensors inside that phone that help it to be the device that it is. Two such sensors are the ambient light sensor and the proximity sensor. Now, why am I bringing this up right now? Am I just talking about things that are useless and just wasting your time just to be a nerd and talk about the... No, there's a valid reason for why I'm telling you this. When you are on a phone call, by default, the audio of that phone call is going to come out of the top of your phone, what I like to call the earpiece. I don't really believe that Apple uses that term, and it is not meant to describe an external earpiece like an earphone or something. I'm referring to it as the very, very top of the phone where I put my ear up against the phone, right? That's what I'm talking about. I call it an earpiece. That's probably not accurate, but that's the name I use for it because it's pretty descriptive. Puts you in the mindset of old phones where you had an earpiece, right? So I put that up against my ear. That's where the audio, the sound comes out by default. When you do that, though, you have to realize your face is going to be resting against the screen of the phone. And so if you had a device that was not very smart, what would happen is every time you put your face up against the phone in order to talk, listen through the earpiece, you now are going to be pressing buttons on the touch screen, right? Your face is going to be pushing buttons while you're on that call. And that could be detrimental. It could be anything from inconvenient to actually, hanging up on the person. So again, Apple is very brilliant about this. So they use these sensors, the two that I just mentioned, the ambient light sensor and the proximity sensor. The ambient light sensor determines how much light is getting to the device, and the proximity sensor is determining how close the device is to something. When you are on the phone in a call, your face, if you're using the earpiece in the way I described, the top of the phone, your face is up against that phone. Your mouth is by the bottom of the phone, the microphone. You're like holding it up to your ear like a phone. What that does is it disables the screen. It disables the screen so you cannot accidentally have errant button pushes while you're on a call. In order to use the screen in any way, you've got to pull the phone away from your ear and wait a few seconds for the screen to come back to life. This is done deliberately so that you are not accidentally pressing buttons while you're talking on the phone. But this is also the reason that some people say, I can't use the magic tap because when I go to try to two-finger double tap, I pull the phone away from my ear and I two-finger double tap, nothing happens. It's because you didn't wait long enough, or maybe you didn't even move the phone far enough away. I like to be a little dramatic about it and pull the phone away in such a way that the sensors in that phone are definitely going to detect that it's away from my ear, it's now even at a different angle, and I wait 2 or 3 seconds. Then I know the magic tap works, the screen is awake, so if I want to deliberately touch any buttons to insert in a call or something, I can do that. But you have to pull it away from your ear first. And if you're still struggling with the magic tap, just find the end button. It's near the bottom of the screen, and you can do that. So that's a little bit about the proximity and ambient light sensors while you're on a call. Now, what else do we need to talk about while we're on a call? Well, one of the things we need to talk about is people say, well, how do I enter digits, while I'm on a phone call if I have an automated system that says, for English, press 1 and whatever. Now, before we can get to that, I just want to describe the overall setup of things when you are on a call. So, You answer the phone, somebody's called you, you say hello, or you place a call, right? And then someone answers, either a live person or an automated system or whatever. But you're connected to that call. What do you have on the screen if you pull the phone away from your ear? Well, I can't really show you this very easily, but I can describe it. At the top of the screen, and I'm not talking about the status bar right now, I'm talking about just below that. At the top of the screen, you have either the name of the contact or the phone number that you've called, and it'll kind of have a timer to show you how long you've been on the call. Usually with VoiceOver turned on, the next thing you're going to find is the keypad, because a lot of times it'll default to the keypad automatically, although not always. Sometimes if you place a call with Siri, it doesn't default to the keypad. Instead, it defaults to the rest of the app, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The keypad will have its normal 1 through 0 with the star and the pound, just where you'd expect them to be. And then to the right of the pound sign, if you swipe again, there's a hide keypad button. So if you need to do other things, you can do that. Now, what other kinds of things are there? Well, for one, there's going to be an audio button. Now, it may just say speaker, but it may also say audio. It depends on whether you have multiple devices. Like in our home, praise God, we have several HomePod speakers. For those who don't know, the HomePod is Apple's smart speaker. And you can switch your phone call to the HomePods. If you're, in the kitchen or the living room and you want to talk on a bigger speaker, you can do that. You can also switch to sometimes your car, or there are different devices you can switch to, and so it may just say audio. But one of the devices there will definitely be speaker. When you put it on speakerphone, now it's not really coming just through the earpiece, it's coming through the bottom speakers, and you can pull that phone away from your ear and talk that way. Now there is a setting, if you go to settings, and if you go to accessibility, and voiceover, and audio, there's a setting that will allow the speakerphone to automatically come on when you pull the phone away from your ear. I do not like that setting to be on. I do not want to use that setting. I turn it off. And the reason being is because when it switches, there's always a brief little interruption. And if I'm maybe, let's say, putting away groceries and I'm holding the phone with my shoulder or something, it may switch repeatedly while I'm on the phone, and then you're losing parts of the conversation. So I turn that off. The name of that setting is Auto Select Speaker in Call, and I don't like it on. I turn it off. If you want it on, that's up to you. Personal preference, as we always say. But that's where you find it. Settings, accessibility, voiceover, and audio. And again, the name of it is Auto Select Speaker in Call. I believe, although I can't confirm this, but I believe it's probably on by default still. But I go in there and I've turned it off. It's done, and, that's fine. Now, back to what speaker does, though, when you turn it on or however, then it uses the rest of the phone, so you can set that phone down on a table or whatever and, not hold it up to your ear. But the audio button is on that in-call screen that you have when the keypad is hidden. You have a mute button, and you can double tap and hold the mute button to use it more like a hold feature. You have a button that's called Add Call. That's when you're on the phone with somebody and you want to do a conference call. Different carriers may have different limitations. Normally we think of that as three-way calling, but some may support more than that. FaceTime, you can have up to 32, I think. But you say add call, and then it'll let you select through your contacts or dial with your keypad or whatever, and then that call connects. Now you have a button to swap, so you can swap back and forth between the two calls, or merge, where you bring the calls together and you're talking to everybody at once. It's a little different with the FaceTime interface, and we'll talk about that probably next week, maybe today, but probably next week. And so when you use this is traditional phone calls though, you can swap, you can merge, but you have to add call first. So you add at least a second call to the line there. Now, there is also, when you're in this view, the non-keypad view, just the in-call screen, at the bottom, there's a More button. And you have even additional options under More. For one thing, you have call recording. So it is possible to record a call a FaceTime audio, regular call, any kind of call like that by choosing call recording under the More button. When you start a call recording, you're going to have an automated announcement that plays for the other person. It's going to say, something along the lines of this call's being recorded. And why am I getting so many notifications when I should be in Do Not Disturb?
Speech on Zoom meeting button. Selected. Audio route.
I don't really know.
Expand video panels.
Well.
Button. Speech off.
We're not going to mess with it. I don't know what. Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, so it says, it plays an announcement that the other person can hear. It says something along the lines of this call's being recorded, whatever, and you might even hear periodic little beeps to remind the person they're being recorded. But when you're done with that, it ends up in your notes as an audio file. You can export it to files. You can get a call transcript in notes. So it's a really, really useful, really powerful feature, and it's extremely clear. I mean, crystal clear audio. It's pretty impressive. And so I've done that. It works very well. And again, that's under the More button. It's not the only thing under the More button. Another thing you have under the More button is Call Hold Assist. Now, that may pop up on its own, but if it doesn't, you can go into the More button and you can find it. So what is Call Hold Assist and what does it do? Well, the Hold Assist feature detects hold music and will hold the call for you, allowing you to use your iPhone normally or even just put it away. You don't have to hang on that call. And when it detects a live voice, it will prompt you, it'll ring your phone, and you can answer it to talk to the person. Now, because this is technology and it's not a human doing the hold assist, sometimes it gets it wrong in that if you have a hold music that also has an occasional voice, you know how that goes. You're listening to hold music and then you hear this voice in the background that says, "Thank you for continuing to hold. We appreciate your patience. The next available representative will be with you shortly." Whatever. That sometimes is detected as a real voice and your phone will ring. But Apple, again, in their brilliant ways, have even made an accommodation for that as well. What happens is when the phone rings, if you tap on the screen and start swiping, it's going to show you what the supposed live person is saying. And so if you read on the screen, "Thank you for your patience, your caller number 3 in the queue, you will be with you," whatever, you don't need to answer that. That's not really a human. Only when it's really a human and you see that, then you can answer it. And the automated voice of Hold Assist will tell the other person that you'll be right with them. So there's plenty of time. Read the screen and answer it when you need to. Again, that option for Hold Assist is under the More button. And the third option under the More button is Live Translate. So you could be talking to your grandmother in Italy. She could be speaking Italian, and you would hear an automated voice transcribing what she says to English. You can do this in written form if you're on video calls and in messages, but on the regular phone calls, it does use a spoken audio voice. That is also under the More button. And of course, on the screen, not under More, but just at the very bottom is the keypad button. And so when you're on this in-call screen and you want to show the keypad again, you can double tap that to bring the keypad back up. And then when you want to go back to the other screen, you hit Hide Keypad at the bottom. I also want to point out as a little tidbit for those of our longtime users who are a little more familiar with things, when you are on a phone call, you are not really in the phone app necessarily. You are using what's called an in-call service. And you can actually find that in the app switcher. It'll either say in-call service or it'll say like call with so-and-so or incoming call, whatever, it'll tell you. But that's a separate thing. That's why it looks different. If you go to the home screen, you can use your phone while you're on the phone. You can use other apps if you need to. And an example I always give of that is, you're on the phone with somebody and you say, "Oh, I should look that up online. I'm going to go into Safari, so you can swipe up to go home. Your phone might have gone to sleep, so you might need to use Face ID, but eventually you swipe home a couple times and you'll get to the home screen. You can go into Safari. Now what you'll find is that the dynamic island shows your ongoing call. And if you don't have a dynamic island, you can just go to the app switcher. Even if you do have a dynamic island, you can also go to the app switcher and you can choose your call to return to the in-call screen. All right, so the basics we covered a lot. We covered quite a bit with the calls tab, how to filter, how to make calls, how to receive calls, how to take how to add calls if you want to have a three-way call or whatever. What if I get a call waiting while I'm on a call? Well, it's the same thing. That's going to pop up on the screen. You can swipe through the available options. You'll have hold and accept, end and accept, send to voicemail. You have all of these different options. If you do hold and accept, meaning you keep the first caller on hold while you talk with the second caller, you'll then have the options to swap back and forth. I don't remember if you have the options to merge that way, but you definitely have the option to swap back and forth. And speaking of sending to voicemail versus accepting a call, when a phone call comes in, of course, you can answer it. You can press the volume, one of the volume buttons, to silence the ringing, but the phone is still ringing. You can still answer it if you want. Or you can press the side button that you use to lock the phone to send the caller directly to voicemail. Now, we do have some options under settings, apps, and phone for handling callers without a caller ID. And there are basically three different options. You can do nothing. You can silence the call and send it directly to voicemail. Or you can ask their reason for calling. All of these are under call screening, under settings, apps, and then phone. And I have the ask reason for calling option selected. So if somebody calls me that doesn't have a caller ID, isn't known, it'll actually play a message for them, and it'll say, if you leave your name and your reason for calling, we'll try to reach the caller or whatever, the person, whatever. And so they can say, this is Sarah, I want to talk to you about today's class, and then you'll get a notification. If your phone is completely asleep, it'll ring like normal. If it's awake, it may not ring. It may show up in the dynamic island or possibly as a banner notification, and you can double tap in there. It's a bit chaotic until you get used to it. That's not a criticism of Apple or of the implementation. It's just that there's a lot going on, and you have to handle it before that caller hangs up. So it can at first appear to be a bit chaotic. But on the screen, you can read what they said, you can answer, or you can stop, which puts an end to the call. And if they don't, if they go to voicemail, it'll show on the screen what they're saying there too. Because you have live voicemail, you can read on the screen what the person's saying as they're leaving the message. And if you decide, oh, I actually really do want to answer that, you can swipe over to the answer button and you can answer the call. When live voicemail was first introduced, I don't remember if it was iOS 18 or 17, whenever it was a little bit difficult with VoiceOver because every time as the person would speak, VoiceOver would keep interrupting itself because there was new stuff and it would start reading at the beginning again. So it would sound like this, it would be like, hi, this is Matt calling. Hi, this is Matt calling. I was wondering, hi, this is Matt calling. I mean, it was really, really tricky. Apple has fixed that, praise God. That's no longer a problem. You can just swipe through. It is going to, only read what it has. If the person hasn't spoken something yet, it's not there, so it may seem incomplete. But you just swipe and read what they are saying, and you can use the live voicemail feature in that way. Here's what I'd encourage with the call screening thing, with the ask reason for calling. I'd encourage you to practice it. And the easiest way to practice it is get a willing family member or friend to call you, but ask them to put star 67 in front of their call. At least here in the United States, star 67 will block your caller ID for just that call. And so if they call you by doing star 67 and then putting your phone number, that will come through as an unidentified call. And if you have the ask reason for calling selected, then it will definitely ask them, and it'll give you a chance to practice um, actually working with call screening. Uh, the There is going to be a recording that goes up on our podcast soon. My daughter and I demonstrated call screening, and she is actually the one who said it was a bit chaotic in her brilliant way. And she's right, it was, because I wanted people to hear her end of the conversation as well as my phone. So you had two things going on. So it is a bit chaotic, but I think it'll still be fun. And I think it'll still help you to learn a little bit more about call screening. So I am going to upload that to the podcast soon. Meanwhile, as I said, what I'd encourage you to do is to practice. *67, don't forget that. Now, there is one more thing I'd like to talk about before we go to Sarah and to your questions, and that is this issue of what do I do when I'm on one of these automated systems that says press 1, press 3, stuff like that. Well, I know you might not like this answer, but honestly, the best thing I can tell you is practice. Muscle memory will help you to remember where the numbers are on the keypad. We in this class have not yet started talking about the different typing modes. We will in a few weeks. Standard typing, touch typing, direct touch typing. Some of you already know what that is. Others of you will learn. But you can try the different typing modes. But the big thing is memorizing, because that keypad on the screen is set up just like a traditional telephone keypad, except you can't feel the buttons. But you'll start to memorize and use a mode that's going to allow you to slide your finger. I mean, I've been doing this for years. God-given talent, praise God. Plus, I use it a lot, and I do, and even me, sometimes I mean to touch 7 and I touch 4. But I know if I just slide my finger down, then I'm going to be on 7. And then I can do what I need to do. You've got to practice it. It's the only way. There's no secrets. You really just have to spend lots and lots of time with it. And I would not do it when you're nervous about it. You get this thing in the mail that says you got to call this because you forgot to pay this bill. So now you're in a hurry. You want to pay this bill right away. You just forgot. And now you got to call and you're pressing buttons and you're pressing the wrong button. No. Practice this when it really doesn't make any difference, or with something that isn't as high pressure of a situation, And remember this too. As I said, sometimes if you call a number using SIRI, you may not have the keypad on the screen. You may not even be in the right app. It may have you on the home screen, and you say, well, what do I do? Well, what you do is go to the app switcher. Remember the app switcher where you swipe up from the bottom like you're going home, but you swipe up even farther to get to the app switcher? Or for you home button folks, it's a double click of the home button. So when you're in the app switcher, look not for phone. Do not look for something called phone. You look for that in-call service. That's why I talked about that. Don't look for the phone app, because the phone app is not your connected call. You want to look for in-call, and it'll either say like ongoing call with 202-555-12 or whatever, or it'll say, ongoing call with John Smith or whatever, call with somebody. But it's the in-call service. That's the app you want to find in the app switcher. So if you use SIRI or something and it brings you to the home screen, but you're connected to the call, well, how do I get to the keypad? How do I get to the, go to the app switcher and find in-call or call with or whatever it says. And then again, what if I'm connected to the call but I don't have the keypad? Just keep swiping. It's at the very bottom right of the screen and it'll say keypad. It's a little different than what it used to be prior to iOS 26, but it is there. So these are lots of information very quickly. You'll be able to go back and listen on the podcast, but I also think hopefully it's some useful information that maybe you never heard before. Maybe some of this is brand new to you, but I think it'll help you going forward. And so
thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Have an additional comment or feedback? Email us info@ttjtech.biz or info@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. And remember, Subscribe to the newsletter when you're there. That way, you don't miss out on any upcoming announcements or events. Thanks for joining us. God bless, and see you next time.